Good morning, beautiful people. Hold on, what is this? What is this? Hold on, y'all. Good morning, happy Monday, y'all. Happy Monday, rise and grind. Let's get it, y'all. Good morning, how y'all doing? Hopefully, everybody had a beautiful weekend, blessed, beautiful weekend, okay? Because I surely did. Um, Shout out to everyone in the building. Thank y'all so much for joining. Hopefully, I got some mods in here. I saw Candy earlier. Trey is gonna be late. I saw Fun. I saw E Brooks. Hopefully, I do have mods that are able to mod for me this morning. If not, no biggie. I just have to keep my eye on the chat. But thank y'all so much for joining this morning. I appreciate it. Um, Shout out to oh wow, shout out to I don't know if I should say this name, this whole name. You can let me know Oh wow! But shout out to you, girl. Thank you. You know who you are. Thank y'all so much. The two people I see the name on this cash app, I just don't want to. Lord, it's a shame that you have to be careful and mindful of, people that you shout out just because, Anyway, shout out to you. I appreciate you. She said, hey, hashtag ignore the non-factors. You got content. Thank you so much, sweetie. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you supporting this hashtag content that matters. I honestly do. Thank you so much. Um, I'm gonna have to get with you and ask you about that. I just don't. You know who you are. I just don't like to mention people's name if I feel like they're gonna be attacked in some sort of way or whatever. So yeah. With that being said, y'all listen. It's a new week, right? Well, actually, it was a new week yesterday, but it's a new week. We're starting out the week right. We're starting out the week on a new note, on a positive note, and we're gonna get it in, okay? Like I said, rise and grind. That's the motive, right? So with that being said, we're gonna get back into our trial coverage of Mr. Alex Murdaugh, and he's on trial for the demise of his wife and son. Currently, we are listening to. Shout out to you, Chatterwagon girl. Chatterwagon. That's what you know. What I forgot. You. Shout out to you, girl. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Mr. Jason Chapman, Captain Jason Chapman. Okay, he was one of the first responders, one of the officers on the scene, and he is testifying in this moment. And let me find my timestamp. Um, about what he observed.
Whoever the perpetrator was.
Hold on 1 minute, y'all. Give me a second. Good thing I remembered it because, of course, it jumped. I'm so sick of this thing. I'm going to start writing this stuff down. I got pen and paper right here. I don't know why I don't do it. But anywho, shout out to y'all. Please make sure y'all hit that like button if you don't mind. Get into this commentary that matters. I know with the mess going on, it's hard to focus on the positive, but I challenge you people. I honestly challenge you people. And if you saw my live last night, go back and check it out. Please, if you have missed any of the sitcom episodes, go and check them out. Raina, Loca, um, The Real, B. Nicole, the Jeffersons with Anaya and she. Y'all please go and support these. We're trying to do it, y'all. We're trying to do it. It's gonna be hard, but hey, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Right, Chad, right. It does, girl. And so with that being said, we're gonna get into it, y'all. We're gonna get into it. So we'll continue with the testimony of Captain Jason Chapman. Okay, here we go.
Back on or halfway or?
How you doing? Do you affirm the testimony about the report shall be the truth, so help you God?
I do, ma'am.
Thank you. Take a seat in the witness stand. State your name again for the record. Yes, ma'am. Spell your last name.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Walker Chapman. Last name Chapman.
Mr. Chapman, Jason, you stated in director, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up and what education did you obtain?
Sure. I'm a native, born in Walterboro. I've lived here most of my life. Graduated from what was Walterboro High School at the time. I attended the College of Charleston and the University of South Carolina, Salkehatchie before starting my career in law enforcement. I actually joined the cadet program well before age of 21, then became a reserve deputy, dispatcher, and then a class 1 officer. And I've now been doing law enforcement. I'm in my 26th year.
26-year career. Would you walk us through how you when you first got into law enforcement and kind of the roles you've taken on and the training you've done in that?
Certainly. In 97, I attended a reserve officer class. It was a joint class between the Collins County Sheriff's Office and the Walterboro Police Department. had to actually wait until I turned 21 to take the final exam, went down to the academy, took the exam, passed, began working as a reserve. I then got hired as a dispatcher at the Walterboro Police Department, where I worked a short stint as a dispatcher to fill in a hole. And in the spring of '98, I attended the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy. I graduated later that year. I actually graduated as a distinguished graduate from the academy. Since then, I've been doing law enforcement. I did my first 16 years with the city of Walterboro, and I transferred over to the sheriff's office January 1 of 2013, where I have remained since then. My training I've worked through pretty much every division there is in law enforcement, probably with the exception of civil process. I have an extensive background in firearms. I'm a firearms instructor, less than lethal instructor, active shooter instructor. I've had training as a narcotics supervisor. I've been through schools for administration, pretty much everything.
What's your current rank with the Sheriff's Department?
Currently as captain.
And how would you describe your responsibilities presently?
So currently I oversee special operations. That includes our investigative division, our tactical team, search and rescue.
Have you ever had an opportunity to testify as an expert in a trial?
I have.
Tell us about that.
This past year in 2022, I testified in federal court in Charleston, South Carolina, on a case involving the city of Beaufort, and I was sworn in as a expert witness in general police procedures.
I'm going to direct your attention back to the date of June 7, 2021. Are you familiar with that day?
Yes, sir.
What was your role with the sheriff's office back on that date?
The same as it is currently.
Supervising investigations?
That's correct.
That would include, would that include homicides?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you have an opportunity, were you dispatched or were you noticed of an incident that occurred on that day?
I was. I actually heard the call and went in service before I was dispatched, but yes, sir.
All right. What did you hear over the radio?
The call coming out that a transfer from Hampton County had been received, in which the caller was reporting that his wife and child had been shot.
Did you know a location at that point?
I was given the location by dispatch, but I was not familiar at the time of the dispatch as to the parties involved.
And at that point, did you decide that you were going to go to the scene?
I did, sir.
What was the dispatch location?
I believe it was, I think it's 4142 Moselle Road in Arlington.
Were you made aware of who this involved at that?
I was not at the time.
Is 4147 Moselle Road within the limits of Colleton County?
It is, sir.
And walk us through what you did that night upon, learning of this incident and then making your way out there. Walk us through that process, if you would.
Yes, sir. I had a brief conversation with Sheriff Hill by telephone.
Good morning, Tamara, Miss
He had been
Carla.
advised of
Come on in,
the
y'all. Come on in.
caller's identity
Hit that
as
like
Mr.
button.
Alex Murdaugh. With my career, familiar with the Murdaugh family and Mr. Murdaugh. And Sheriff Hill advised me that if it was in fact confirmed to be Mr. Murdaugh, that he would likely notify SLED simply because of the conflict of interest with the family. And shortly before we arrived, I believe he was able to confirm that. And that call was made to request for assistance from SLED and to request that they actually assume primary in the investigation.
Does your department, the sheriff's office, do you all work fairly closely with SLED? Is that a common thing?
We do, sir.
All right, describe that process. I mean, not including this particular investigation, but in general, how have you all worked with SLED as a law enforcement agency?
As far as crime scenes, like response to crime scenes, my division works with the entire agency, but we work very well with SLED. The remote location, although we have a satellite office for SLED here in Colleton County, actually, for the Low Country, their crime scene unit still comes out of Columbia. So, middle of the night when they're notified that we may need assistance, or in this case, that we wanted to take them to take primary in the investigation. Even with the fact that they're emergency services, it's still going to be about an average of a 2-hour response for that crime scene unit once they're notified. So it's very common for us to begin the investigative process at that scene while we're waiting for their arrival, with them working jointly with us. And that investigative process usually begins with the acquisition of a search warrant.
Oh Lord, Chad, I know that's right. Thank y'all for the likes. I so appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for the likes. Keep hitting that like button, y'all. Hey Sirius, hey Eboo, listening and working. Okay, boo. Thank you, Raina. All right, y'all be sure to hit that like button. And also feel free to hit the Cash App and support the channel.
Which we know will be required once the crime scene team arrives on scene. And that just comes from a long supported tradition of us working well together and obviously being capable to do so.
As a captain and as a supervisor of the investigations, do you typically wear a body-worn camera?
I do have one. At that particular night, I did not have it. It's on my my exterior ballistic vest, and the scene was secure prior to my arrival, so I did not have my vest on.
On arrival at the scene, were you made aware, did you become aware of who in your department had already arrived?
I was listening to the radio so that I knew that several patrol units had arrived prior to myself. And I believe myself, the sheriff, and one other detective arrived probably about 10, 12, 13 minutes after the initial officers.
You remember the rough approximate time that you arrived on scene?
I want to say it was around 10:35, 10:37 p.m. that evening.
Walk us through what you observed upon arrival.
Sure. So while en route, I reminded the shift supervisor, Sergeant Daniel Green, that to try to maintain the integrity of the scene as best as possible. I wasn't there, so I didn't know the magnitude of the scene. I don't know what he has, but just reminding him, limit personnel inside the scene, do what we can to preserve. Sheriff Hill came across the radio. I was trying to pull the weather up in this particular area I was driving through. I did not have much phone signal, so he did, and realized that we had an approaching storm that was about 45 minutes out. So he advised over the radio, once he got his phone to pick it up, that we needed to secure a tent. I had not been there yet. He was requesting the tent to place over the deceased bodies of the two victims. I relayed that information to one of my lieutenants that was en route. I also turned one of my detectives around that has the longest drive in, which is Detective Rutland, and I informed her to head to the office to start working on a search warrant.
Is that your common practice?
Yes, sir.
You spoke before about you all conducted joint investigations with SLED. Is it common for, describe for us what your roles might be in a joint investigation and what SLED's role might be and how that, played out in this case?
Certainly. So the very first thing, obviously, is a notification.
I didn't know if I stated it or not, or whether or not y'all can tell, but it is a member of the prosecution team questioning him right now. So he's being questioned by the prosecutors. Okay, here we go.
Request for assistance, and then the explanation of what exactly we're requesting. A lot of times our assistance is what's requested is nothing more than assistance with the crime scene. Sometimes it may be that we're asking for them to take the entire case. In this case, the notification was made by the sheriff. All I was told was that SLED was responding, that they were sending a team of investigators as well as crime scene. Knowing that crime scene was en route, we went ahead and secured that search warrant. That's why Detective Rutland was turned around and sent directly to the office to go ahead and initiate that process. Obviously, at 10:30 at night, we knew that we were going to have to get the warrant typed, and then we were going to have to locate a judge in the middle of the evening. We wanted to have all of that done prior to the arrival of the crime scene unit.
You touched on earlier a little bit about the weather, but describe the weather as it was when you arrived that evening.
As I arrived, hot, sticky, I recorded in my notes. The only reason I can go back and tell you exactly, but what I have recorded in my notes is 79 degrees, 89% humidity, hot, sticky. It was not raining yet. An occasional raindrop on the windshield, but no actual rain yet. It was a little foggy on my ride in, but not foggy at the scene, and obviously evening hours.
And I think you mentioned before, but rain did set in at, however, how long was it until the rain set
It
in?
wasn't very long. I think the radar was pretty accurate. I want to say within 45 minutes to an hour of that notification, the rain did come.
You mentioned setting up tents or requesting that tents be set up. What would be the purpose of those tents?
So in response to the crime scene, obviously preservation of any type of evidence is important, but the preservation is not always limited to leaving it there and taking a picture of it and wait for somebody else to get there. In this case, Mother Nature wasn't complying. We knew that the rain was inbound. So the tent was placed over victim Maggie's body in an attempt to preserve any evidence that may be there. I only had one at the time. Paul's body was positioned somewhat over an extending ledge that I was hopeful would keep some of the rain if it did start off of him. The other evidence would have been anything from, and at the time I didn't know what we were going to be facing, but from, tire tread, footprints, shell casings, anything at all. So the intent would be to preserve that as best as possible. And if it was going to be affected by the approach.
I am, Chatty. I am feeling better. Although I did call this morning and made an appointment for Wednesday. Because even though I'm feeling better, you know what I'm saying? I was feeling bad all last week. So if I'm not 100%, and I'm not at 100%, but I am feeling better. I'm still gonna go into the doctor on Wednesday. I just have to, like, if I have anything that, whether it be a cold or sinus infection, and normally that's what it is for me around this time, is a sinus infection trying to come on, which I fought like a month ago. But anywho, yeah, so I feel better, I do, but I still go into the doctor on Wednesday. Thanks for asking, sweetie. I appreciate it. Invest in oil of oregano elderberry. I have elderberry. I got a slew of vitamins that I take. Um And I do have some natural herbs that my sister made up for me, because my sister, I call her the herb doctor. That's just what I call her in the family, because she don't do modern medicine. She's all about herbs. So I do have some stuff. I just don't, even though I'll take that stuff, I just don't take it. I'll take it and then I'll stop and I'll detox, because, too much of anything is not good when it comes to me and what I deal with as far as my heart. So yeah, I got some stuff, but I don't know. Most of the times I can fight stuff off, but sometimes I get caught, girl. Thank y'all for the likes. I appreciate it. Oh, keep them coming, y'all. Keep them coming. Thank y'all for joining. Please feel free to support the channel. Thank you, Chatty.
Whether do the best thing we could to mark it out, measure it out, and have that done or partially done by the time crime scene arrived.
As far as safety purposes, when you arrived on the scene, would you have considered the scene to be secured at that point?
Yeah.
I arrived pretty quick. I know that as far as the immediate, right there, the area that I'm sure that you ladies and gentlemen have seen with the tape and the videos that were played earlier, the immediate scene. Yes, the outside, the property's approximately like 1,700 acres, and it's not just that property. It sits in the middle of nowhere. At the time, we did not know what we had. I don't know if we had a active shooter, didn't know if we had a murder-suicide, didn't know if we had people in the woods. We don't have any idea. So inner perimeter secure, I would say yes, sir. Outside, in the woods, across the street, I wasn't sure yet. I didn't know.
Is it fair to say that there was a lot of unknowns at that point when you first arrived?
A lot of unknowns when I first arrived. Very little known other than at the time what they had
Thank
gotten
you,
as initial
Sirius. I
information from
will.
Mr.
Thank
Murdaugh
you.
and the fact that we had 2 deceased.
tell the jury, if you will, well, first of all, let me ask you this. As part of your law enforcement training throughout the years, have you had any experience with or training in, life-saving techniques, if needed, if someone needed CPR or something like that? Are you trained in it?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And arrival on the scene, did you physically observe the two bodies that were present, both of Maggie and Paul?
I did, sir.
And in your estimation, was it clear to you that they were deceased?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Did you consider that life-saving techniques would be possible or would have any result?
I did not. Paramedics were there shortly before
Okay,
me.
Raina.
Got great fire rescue. I was assured that if there had been anything that could have been done, it would have been initiated prior to my arrival. But from what I saw, it was well beyond that.
When upon your arrival at the scene, were there anyone else present that were not either sheriff's office employees or employees of EMS and fire? Was there anyone else present on the scene?
The two victims, Mr. Murdaugh and emergency services.
Yeah, Chaddy, you need to go back. You need to go back. We reviewed it. We actually reviewed the Netflix documentary. Sure did. It's on my channel. Yep.
Mr. Murdaugh, is that Alex Murdaugh?
Yes, sir.
Is he present here today?
Yes, sir. He's seated at the defense table, blue blazer, white shirt, and glasses.
Did you have an opportunity to observe Mr. Murdaugh that night?
I did, sir.
As part of your responsibilities there, what capacity were you there at the scene? In what capacity?
Again, investigative. I realized that, we had notified SLED to take over, but again, what we were attempting to do and what we did do was identification of any potential evidence. We marked that potential evidence. If time had allowed, it would have been photographed, and then from that point simply protected. Absolutely zero collection of anything was done by any of my staff, with the exception of one GSR kit that was instructed by SLED.
I know, have you familiarized yourself with the body worn video of both Deputies Green and McDowell?
I did, sir.
And what was your first order of business upon arrival, and particularly relating to Paul?
By the time I got there, they had placed a sheet over both of the victims. It's something that, I'm not always, I don't like. I understand that a lot of times it's placed there, so the family doesn't have to see that, but prefer that it does not happen. But in this case, it is already there. And because the scene is still somewhat fluid, we talked about the inner perimeter being secure, but as reported by Mr. Murdaugh, we don't know who the defendants are. We don't know where the shooters are. We see shell casings scattered around the ground that are obviously rifle casings. There's some evidence to support that at least one or more shots into Paul were from a shotgun. That means two weapons. So were there two people? Are there other people that may be injured? So inner perimeter may be considered secure, outer perimeter not so much. So we began really quick with an inspection of the two individuals to make sure that we had not missed a weapon, or that the initial responding officers had not missed one. And we could see that Maggie...
I wasn't until
we could see that Maggie, there was nothing laying beside her. We looked closely. Again, we didn't move her. So we went over to Paul, and I had a couple of the deputies there and a detective lift the sheet just so that we could look and make sure there wasn't a weapon underneath him. His hands were tucked, so you couldn't see underneath his body. But as best we could tell from the present state of the body, unless there was a weapon directly underneath him, there was nothing out to left or right.
Captain Chapman, I'm going to direct your focus to the monitor in front of you. I'm going to play what's been marked as state's exhibit. What's that? Oh, yeah, we need to leave. It's exhibit number 1.
Yes, sir.
Marked it to the 28-minute mark on that. Just looking at the still image right now, are you familiar with the scene there? And can you describe what's going on?
Yes, sir. So that's myself, Detective Tyndall, Chief McRoy from the Colleton County Fire Rescue. Lieutenant Lonnie Nettles in the background near the perimeter, inner perimeter tape, and victim Paul Murdaugh's body to our left there in the open doorway to the feed room.
What are you preparing to do here?
At this point in time, double checking to see if there is a weapon. Yeah, I told you before we weren't sure whether we're talking about a full murder, a murder-suicide, active shooter scenario. Are there other suspects that may be in the woods? We knew we had the casings that matched to a rifle with some evidence to support it possibly a shotgun. So when asking if any other weapons had been found, everyone stated no. So I had them lift the sheet to make sure there wasn't the barrel of a gun or anything sticking out underneath the body.
A little bit about the scene here, your observations of what you're looking at. The kennels directly to the left. If I could direct your attention to those.
Yes.
Did you notice animals in those kennels?
Well, even the 1, 2, 3. There's a couple kennels closest to the feed room that did have dogs in them. And possibly one towards the end. They weren't all full, but the ones closest to the feed room, I think there was a dog in at least 1 or 2 of them.
And was the area wet?
The area directly in front of the feed room was like wet. There was also water that tailed out of at least the first 2 kennels. The rest of the sidewalk was not wet. That water, I never saw a hose, so I'm not sure if it was leaking from something, but it was actually standing water.
And was that water consistent with the weather at the time?
No, sir, it hadn't rained yet. Not enough to leave anything. It was a drizzle here and there.
You observed the body of Paul. Was it physically wet as well? The clothing he was wearing?
He was saturated with obviously blood and tissue, and his clothes did appear to be wet, but almost as if like absorbed from the ground up. Not saying that someone had sprayed him with a hose or anything.
Please observe the video if you would, and I'll have a few questions afterwards.
Wait a minute, not the aura. Is he here in? Is it North Carolina? Is he in North Carolina? 30 minutes away from me. Hey, lovely. Thanks for joining. You go. You go try, girl. You should try, girl. Could hurt to try.
Yeah.
So the guy, the other guy, River Air Crew, here's the caller. There's a guy over here that's wanting to talk to him.
I don't even know who Eric is. I know Alex over there. There's a guy over there.
Butler, North Carolina. Okay. He did an interview with Storm. Is it on his channel? Like when, Ebro?
The green truck laser. Correct. Because I know what type of vehicle. She has a green truck laser. It's really awesome. Her. She thinks she can only get a tail light from the vehicle. She's also correct that she's not possible.
Couple of months ago. Oh, okay.
Did you direct Deputy McDowell into the feed room area to help with lifting of the sheet?
I did, sir.
And why would you do that?
I want the sheet lifted directly up, not drug across the body. Again, I told you I'm not really a proponent of sheets, but since it was there, I would prefer that it be lifted straight up. I had already walked through to see what, if anything, right there. You can see I'm cautiously stepping there, but I'd already checked to see if we were going to be able to step to the inside of it. The spot right inside inside of the door frame. I had looked and I felt like he would be able to step straight in, pick the sheet up, put the sheet back down, and step back out.
And is preservation of a scene important?
It is
Part
important.
of your line of work?
Absolutely.
Is
Is the camera showing the sun in the crowd right now? Not right now, but guess what, Chatty? The camera has been focused on Buster, because Buster is literally, to me, honestly grinning. He got this smirk on his face. If you looked at him, you couldn't tell that his mom and his brother was dead. You couldn't tell that his daddy was on trial for the murders, honey. Something's not right with Buster. Buster's special. Buster elevator don't go all the way to the top. Now, I'm just saying, that's just my observation. Hashtag Buster ain't right. I'm just saying. But not right in this moment, but they have been showing him throughout the testimony. Yeah, Chad, it's weird. It's weird. And I'm glad somebody else seen it other than me, like his facial expressions. Oh gosh.
equally important, securing the scene and making sure that you understand if there's any loose firearms around or that there's any other
It is, again,
uncontrolled circumstances going on?
it is, again, the sole purpose of this right here is to help determine whether or not I have any suspects still on the move or if there's a weapon underneath them.
Thank you.
I think so, fun. I think so.
Fire rescue might have some more sheets you can steal. That's why it shouldn't be all areas.
Is this you looking for the gun?
It is, sir.
What do you notice about the body physically laid there?
Good morning, Latasha. Be safe.
Feet towards the feed room, head towards the driveway, hands tucked underneath the body, fairly saturated in blood. The majority of the head is gone. There's a lot of tissue, what appears to be at least some of the brain or most of the brain lying on the opposite side from me to the victim. Wet, again, I'm assuming
Tamara.
probably from soaking up rain or water, whatever that is, off the sidewalk. And a smartphone sitting propped up on the back of him.
Was Paul's person saturated in physical matter and blood?
Yes.
And his hands, were they accessible to anyone could you have touched Paul's hands or wrists without physically moving him?
I can't actually see his hands at this point in time.
Fell down on top of him? Is that
They're underneath his body, yes, sir.
What did you observe that was laying on top of Paul's body right there?
Again, it was a smartphone.
Did you have a chance to examine that smartphone, get fairly close to it?
I got close to it. I didn't pick it up. I was present when it was actually collected later, but it was not collected at this point.
And later on, it was described the collection process.
Yep, he did, McKay.
It was collected by myself and Agent David Owens. I believe he's going to be your case agent. As far as collection of that, I stood by as a witness as he collected. He had on rubber gloves. It was picked up. He didn't actually do any manipulation of the device in front of me. It was bagged as evidence and placed in the vehicle.
Was the phone physically bloody?
I don't recall any blood or water on the phone. I'm not saying that microscopically there wasn't, but I don't recall from the naked eye seeing anything.
That's what I'm asking about.
No, sir.
From your observations, was it wet from either water or blood?
No, sir.
And when it was lifted off of Paul's shorts, did it leave like a mark of blood or water or anything like that?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Thank you, come correct.
I haven't asked the dad about the phone, but dad did say he came over and checked the pulses. Beyond that, I don't know what else he did. He did have a shotgun, and then I have secured that in the vehicle.
Hey, Miss Ann, how you doing, sweetie? Hey, Miss Lynn.
Were you able to locate a firearm underneath the body of Paul?
When the coroner's office arrived and the crime scene hit and victim Paul was eventually moved, there was not a firearm underneath.
Are you familiar with the rifle round called 300 Blackout?
I answer.
Is that in your 26 years of experience, is that a caliber that you come across with any frequency?
In the last couple of years, probably more than ever, but in all the crime scenes that I've worked, I believe this was, at the time, the second ever in my career that had a 300 Blackout as far as being involved in a homicide.
As supervisor on the scene, is it part of your responsibility and your duties to sort of direct what people do? You're the person in charge?
It is, sir.
Does that free you up to do other things? If you have your deputies doing the tasks that you've assigned them?
If possible, yes, sir, sometimes.
And on this particular instance and this night, were you able to observe Mr. Murdaugh and see what he was up to?
Oh, yes, sir. I spoke to him on a few occasions.
Whenever you're investigating a case, I'm going to ask you about items that...
E-Books, what I'm going to need you not to do is talk about the apple bottoms, okay? Apple bottoms was the bomb, girl. You need to respect you need to respect the apple bottoms, okay?
that you might designate as points that you need to address.
Yes, sir.
You describe what that might mean. What's in general like an investigative point or investigative cue that you need to focus on?
Anything that we hear or see that based on the limited amount of knowledge we have at that particular point, just creates a unknown.
Everything come back. Everything come back. Didn't the bell bottom come back? Didn't the wedge come back? Stop it, E-Books, before you get blocked.
Something that may need further investigation, something that maybe doesn't necessarily correspond with the evidence on scene or with the statement made by somebody. It's something that just we need to follow up on. It can't just be left alone or accepted as fact.
What are some of the physical observations? I'm going to ask you about physical observations of Mr. Murdaugh. Did he appear to be, at least outwardly, did he appear to be?
Now, I will say this, and that's why I appreciate y'all so much, the ones that's here supporting this portion of the commentary, because, you know, at the beginning of any like murder trial or whatever, is always, they always put like the cops and the first responders and the medics and all them people on the stand, and the testimonies gets to be a little redundant because they're asking the people, what did you observe, what did you do, what did you see, was he this, was he that? So it's a little redundant. So this testimony right here, to me, honestly, reminds me of the last cop that we listened to, but they pretty much, asked them the same type of questions. So once we get past the like the authorities and all of them, I really want to get into and I'll listen to it all. I'm going to listen to it all, but I really want to get into like the family's testimony, like the son and the sisters and the brothers and things of that nature. But it's coming, y'all. So thank y'all so much for like I say, supporting this live. Be sure to hit the like button, okay, and also feel free to hit the cash app and support the channel. Not lock and loaded. Oh Lord, y'all fighting. Try to say, well, CC, if you ever want to donate that chunk or two, I'll go ahead and take. I don't know what you talking about. Okay. Oh, you talking to Come Correct? Okay.
Yes, sir, he did.
Were you close enough to observe whether or not he actually cried or had tears in his eyes?
He was upset.
Yeah, I think pretty much everybody that done hit this stand as far as police, they done asked them they done asked them if the man was crying. Kay said, yes, I can't wait. Yes, Miss K. They done asked them if this man was crying.
Definitely upset. I got up to him, again, like I said, I spoke to him on at least 2 different occasions, and he was breathing hard. His facial expressions were that of, torment. But did I physically see him crying? I did not. He was sweating, but he wasn't crying.
What did you observe about his clothing?
Clothing was clean. Didn't see anything that stuck out, and obviously no dirt or blood or anything that indicated he had been rolling around on the ground or that he had, been involved or anything up to that point.
I'm going to ask you about something you do when you're arriving on the scene, particularly if it's a homicide. Do you have a practice of phoning or having dispatch send you the 911 call?
Yes, we do.
Why would you do that?
We get a lot of information from 911 calls, more so than the average person, I think, would believe. And it's over the years, we've had several cases where had we not gone back and looked at that initial 911 call, we would have missed some very important information or information that could have cleared up some unknowns. Those points of investigation you talked about much sooner. So in our investigative process, that's now one of the things that we try to do relatively quickly. In this case, with the scene being fluid and not knowing if we had suspects on the loose, I opted to go ahead and do that. And it took a minute for them to get caught up, as busy as they were, but they were able to get on the phone with me and play the 911 call for me.
So were you able to hear the 911 call?
I was.
And are you listening to that 911 call both for content, but also critically and trying to examine the things that are said?
Oh, absolutely. We're listening for noises in the background, exactly what is said versus what we see, so forth.
So with that awareness of everything that was said on the 911 call, do you then take that information and apply it to the scene?
Yes, sir.
And are you applying that information to try to see if it checks out, to see if things are consistent with what you heard on the 911 call?
Yes, sir.
And on the 911 call, did Mr. Murdaugh indicate that he had tried to examine the bodies or check their pulses?
Yes, I believe dispatch stated, do not touch if you haven't. And Mr. Murdaugh replied that he had touched them, checking them.
To check and see if they're breathing?
And which would be expected, absolutely.
On examination, Mr. Murdaugh, did you have a chance to look at his hands?
Again, I did talk to him, yes, sir.
Did you have a chance to look at his shirt?
I did.
And did you see any indication that there was any blood on any part of his body?
No, sir. Not, again, just physically with my observations, no microscope there. I did not see any blood anywhere.
And in your experience with viewing Paul's body, had you physically touched Paul, would there have been blood
Hey,
left
Cheryl.
on your
Good
hand?
morning.
Speculation.
Response. Physically saw the body, and he cannot testify to the locations that would be touched and whether it would transfer.
Does he know what location he touched?
I'll lay a foundation. I'll ask a few more questions. Mr. Chapman, Captain Chapman, going back to your experience in life-saving procedures, are there common areas that someone might touch to check the pulse if they were indicating they're check breathing?
Objection, Your Honor. The question is, where did Mr. Murdaugh touch the body for a pulse? Was it the neck?
Objection. Overruled. The prosecutor is asking a question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is there common areas that someone might check a body to check for, if they've indicated they're checking for breathing, are there common areas that someone might check?
I believe the most common, the neck and the wrist, that you see that, people with limited training would probably use. I'm sure there are others with medical training.
So the neck and the wrist. And please tell me where Paul's wrists were located when you discovered his body.
They're up underneath his body.
And was Paul's neck accessible? If his wrists were underneath his body, was his neck accessible?
I think you can get the portions of his neck. I don't know that you'd be able to get underneath. I mean, he's face down, and I didn't try to get a pulse, but where I know that you would check would be difficult without manipulating the body in some fashion, I guess.
And if you had to manipulate the body, and if you were going to try to check his pulse via wrist or neck, with what you saw that night, would your hands be bloody?
If I had attempted, that would have been, yes.
I'm going to ask you another investigative point that you observed. Did Mr. Murdaugh on the 911 call indicate he was going to retrieve a firearm?
Yes, sir. And that actually
That's
came
a
out.
good question, Charity. That's a good question. I like to see what y'all think in the chat, because I think it's somebody else. I can't remember who it is. That thinks that maybe he was there when it was done and somebody else did it and he didn't actually did it. So yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question.
Now, while I was en route as a caution from the dispatcher, but it was also present on the call when I monitored the call.
Having listened to the phone call, having listened to the 911 tape, what was your reaction, or what was the cue that you were fixated on as it relates to the retrieval of the firearm? What is going through your head at that point?
Well, that he's scared. I mean, that he believes there may be somebody there that possibly whoever he believes hurt them may come back and hurt him.
And sure, that's your estimation, right? That's what you're thinking.
So that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I believe pretty much anybody would think if he was there present with them and got spooked. And because I believe the verbiage on the 911 is, he states, I'm going to get a gun that I don't feel safe. And dispatch tries to tell him we would rather you not. And he states again that I'm not going to show it to the officers. I'm not going to hurt anybody. I'll put it away, but I feel unsafe. So I understand that.
All right, listen to the 911 call critically. What then did you observe towards the end after retrieving a firearm that you would cue on to in your investigative process?
After knowing that he had went and got the gun, knowing that he stated he was unsafe and that he went and got the firearm there, when he came back, as soon as he got back to the scene, the only thing I believe that was odd from that point was that he wanted to separate the call or cancel the call to call family prior to anyone's arrival. It was the only thing that just struck me as odd. Again, it's just a point of investigation. Up to that point in the phone call, he had asked repeatedly, where are they? Are y'all coming? Are y'all coming? Are y'all coming? I'm not safe. I'm going to go get a gun. And then when he got back to the scene, are y'all here yet? How far out are they? And then it was, I need to call my family, and the phone disconnected.
And when we refer to the scene, The scene is obviously, does that uncover
Oh,
part
wow.
of what was, fenced off with crime scene tape? Does that, when referring to a scene?
That would have been the primary scene, yes, sir.
But in your mind, what does the scene also entail? What other things?
So, I mean, the only thing that, the phone could potentially extend that scene, the phone call, excuse me, could potentially extend that scene. As far as entering a crime scene and not being able to introduce evidence, or exiting a crime scene without being able to take away evidence. And by his own admission, he left the scene, went to his house and got a gun. Potentially that could make the house an extension of the crime scene.
Because that's what he indicated on the phone.
And that's what he indicated.
Is Mr. Murdaugh considered part of that scene, the scene?
Of course. He's inside that area when we arrive, and I mean, he would be factored into everything.
And would that justify or explain why you might pay particular attention to him?
Sure. I mean, we would anybody that's there.
Now and I'm asking you this again, I know you've answered, but you've had a chance to review the body worn camera from both Deputy Green and Murdaugh, correct?
Yes.
Did after those videos ceased recording because the crime scene had been secured, did you have an opportunity then to continue your investigation and continue your line of work?
We did.
And these activities would not have been captured on the video because it had been shut.
That's correct.
Did you have an opportunity to physically observe, meaning watch Mr. Murdaugh while your deputies and your officers were performing their tasks?
I did.
What were a couple of the things that you noticed that stuck out to you when physically observing Mr. Murdaugh and how he was either behaving or what he was doing?
Again, I mean, he was emotional. Distress on his face. I didn't see him cry. Not everyone cries. I don't have an issue with that. There were times that when we got to certain places or asked certain questions that you could see a slight demeanor change or body language shift. And, I took note of that, but again, just as a point of investigation, but he remained at the scene. He wasn't forced to say. He was cooperative, but he did, there were times that you could see reaction to different things.
Okay. Did you notice a reaction? Did you ever notice him tracking your movements or your officers' movements?
I know when I was there when I ordered Detective Murdaugh to take a GSR kit and explain how the kit worked and why we were taking it. He was very cooperative with giving the kit, and we really didn't have an issue there. Later, was looking at some, I wouldn't call them tire tracks, I call them tire impressions because there's no dirt there, it's just grass, but we noticed there was quite a bit of tire impressions that ran around the back side of the hangar.
And we'll get to the tire tracks in a second. You mentioned a term just a second ago called GSR.
Yes, sir.
If you wouldn't mind, could you explain to us just what
I
that is?
apologize for that. So a gunshot residue kit is just a kit. We use specific kits provided by SLED because the kits are then sent off for testing, but it's meant to test for the presence of gunshot residue. They're very non-invasive. They have little ampules. You open up a sterile kit, put a set of gloves on, open the kit up, and you'll dab one of the sterile collectors around on the front and back of the hand of an individual, package those up, tape it off, seal it, date it, time it, case number, and then that's eventually sent off to SLED. We were asked, I spoke earlier and said the only thing that my detectives physically collected prior to SLED's crime scene's arrival was that GSR kit. It was done by us because there is a time limit on those. And you can't always wait. I know everybody sometimes thinks well, why don't we just wait and do all this tomorrow? But GSR has a 6-hour limit on it. So we had to collect that night, and we did so. And that's what I was referring to when I say GSR, is a gunshot residue test kit.
And Captain Chapman, related to the GSR retrieval, I know you mentioned that time limit, the expiring time limit. Is it your understanding that time, does that time limit refer to humans or just things in general, objects in general?
That refers to when we collect a GSR sample from an individual. That is our restriction from the SLED lab, is that it has to be collected within 6 hours of the estimated time of firing the weapon. And again, that gets, I mean, it's just as much for any type of exculpatory as it is conviction. Yes, we use it a lot of times to exonerate someone as much as we would to convict.
Going back to Mr. Murdaugh's observations that you had, did he appear to fixate on one body or the other that were there?
Especially watching the camera footage, I didn't notice quite as much in person.
Good morning, Petty Goat.
Oh, good morning, Truth. Good morning.
Hello.
You can't hear me?
Can y'all hear Trey? Because I don't hear anything. He may be
You
on
can't
mute.
hear me? I'm not
hear
on
you.
mute.
Wait a minute, stop hollering. You sound like Baby Petty. Quit hollering. You good?
All happy and stuff. I said, good morning, Truth. How you doing?
Well, you know my joint is delayed, but my plan is to get another device this week. So, but you know, for right now, I'm just delayed. You good?
Yeah, I'm great. I just pulled a groupie move. I hollered at a woman because of her car. I did.
Wait a minute.
And
How?
I got her.
Oh, wait a minute. What does that mean?
Well, you know, I had told you I had car troubles. I had to call a tow truck and an Uber, where the Uber driver was fine in here and she had a Tesla. I hollered at her. I pulled up.
Oh
Got her.
Lord. Hey, Rice Cake.
She got a ghetto
Oh.
name, though, but her car cute.
You know, that reminds me of a story that I need to tell that happened to me this weekend. So I ordered DoorDash this weekend. I think it was Saturday. No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been yesterday. It was Saturday. Why the DoorDash driver? Now, normally when I order DoorDash, you know, the DoorDash driver will pull up on the, you know, like in front of my house. They don't come in the driveway. They don't try to come in the driveway. They just pull up on the side of the house. And I know it's a long walk. It's a pretty good walk from, you know, if you pull in front of my house and walk up my driveway and walk to my house. Not long, but it's, you know, a lot of people don't want to take it. So this particular DoorDash driver attempted, and I'm looking out the window because you know they send you a text and say your driver is approaching, da da da. So usually when I get that text, I'll get up and I'll come in the front and I'll wait. Why this lady attempted to drive into my driveway and pull them on my damn grass? I'm like,
She
so you
was
mean
full of that
that?
ooh wee.
And then she was let me tell you something. She was a ghetto, like a ghetto grandmama type woman. She was an older lady, but she had like red hair, red, I guess a red wig or whatever. And the thing about it is, I kind of knew this lady was sort of kind of ghetto because she called me from the restaurant when my food, you know, when she went to go pick my food up, and she was like, well, I'm just calling to tell you that they just not, you know, they just not doing your food, so I'm on the way. I mean, it was the phone call for me. So when I watched her attempt to pull up in my driveway and ran over my damn listen, let me tell you something about us here in the South that maintain our yards and things of that
You gonna
nature.
get your ass whooped.
You can't be pulling up on my listen. You can't be interrupting my shrubbery, ma'am. We work hard to maintain our yards around these parts. I told Tony, I said, this damn lady pulling up on the. That's my ghetto story of the week, y'all. The DoorDash lady pulled up on my damn grass.
Yeah, now you get
Lady, this
cussed
is
out
not
pulling on
the
somebody's
hood.
grass.
Come
You
on,
can't even walk.
K-Sham.
You can't even walk on the grass. In some folks' part, they like to get your ass on the grass.
Let me tell you
It's for
something.
looking.
Let me tell you something. My grandkids even know in my front yard, now in the backyard, is unavoidable. They got pool. They got a pool back there. They got, you know, they trampoline and they swing set and things of that nature. So they, you know, okay, the backyard, okay, it's or whatever. But in my front yard, even my grandkids know not to walk on my damn grass. This lady pulled her vehicle on my damn grade. I'm like, lady, you can't. The driveway is cement, ma'am. I couldn't snatch the tip. Chad, it was already paid for, girl. I didn't snatch the tip, but they helpful.
See, truth, what you got to do is what I do. I don't ever add the tip in DoorDash. I just give them cash when they pull up. They
I
like it better
don't
anyway.
listen. I got to learn to start keeping cash on hand. I literally Tony may keep cash on hand here and again. Like if he go to the casino and hit and he have cash on, I don't keep cash on me at all.
I
And I
have
ain't
to
even
keep at least $150 on me all times, at least. Cause shit be
I'm
popping up.
That's true. And I'm sure he had cash on him, but I didn't even think, I don't ever think to ask. I just add it on. I think it's more convenient just to add it on. But you know what? I think I need to stop doing that, right? Because sometimes they don't need a tip. Some of my daughters, they don't need a tip. But I be done already paid it, so it just is what it is. I think I'm gonna start doing that, Trey. I'm gonna start just tipping at the door. And if your ass drive up on my damn grass, you ain't getting no tip. The fuck? My
And then
driveway is not dirt, fun. It is
and
cement.
then see, I be leaving them a message too. Like when they tell you the dasher is left the restaurant ahead and to you, I just send them a message with directions and then be like, yeah, so I'm giving you a cash tip. They be extra nice.
Oh, pretty much. Let me tell you what really gets me though. And it's another reason why I'm probably gonna do what you said. I'm gonna think about doing what you said. On my DoorDash account, it specifically says, and y'all, this is a side note. We laying out for a minute.
Hand to me.
Hand to me. And
They don't
oh,
give a
when a
fuck.
driver put my food on my porch, that irks my soul. Hand me my food, ring my doorbell, and I'll come get my damn food. Do not put my food on the damn porch. I don't want my food on the ground, ma'am. Do you want your food on the ground? I'm just saying. That shit irritates my soul when they do that. Especially when on my account it says, hand my food to me. I bet you they'll hand it to me if I'm getting a cash tip instead of just putting that tip on my damn bill. You know, these people
Yep.
around here ratchet. Anybody could be a damn Uber driver. I seen the ghetto grandma yesterday. I said, damn, that lady should be collecting a check. And she had a red wig on, Trey, with some shades. I said, oh no, see, this is what I'm not gonna do. I need to just stop. I need to stop ordering DoorDash, but I love it.
She was getting prepared for the upcoming Tide season. She a Bama fan.
Fuck
That was
that.
her.
I ain't got
That was
nothing
her
to do with
Bama
it.
wig.
I don't have. And Tamara, you right. Tamara said DoorDash don't even come to the countryside of town. They say it's too far from the city. And down there at our country house, no DoorDash. They don't even come. Cause see, actually, the house that we have in the country is outside the city limits. It's in the county. So no, that the police don't even come down there. The sheriff come because it's outside. It's considered to be outside of the city. So when we down there, you can't do DoorDash. But you know, down there they in the country, baby. You just you don't order no damn DoorDash any damn way. She may have been younger than she look. I don't know, me, Ann. Oh, y'all, thank y'all for the lights. Come on with it. Come on with the lights. Thank y'all. I appreciate it. All right, Trey. Long as you good. You still going live at 11? Is it 11:11?
I'm going live whenever you finish.
Okay, well I'm ending that. What time did I
That's
start?
it. But you know that don't mean nothing.
Okay, well I'm gonna do 2 hours, whatever time that is, because I know I started a little late, just a little. So I'm gonna do 2 hours and I'm out of here. Got some things to do. You know I'm always multitasking when I'm on your lives. Hi
Now,
Monica
y'all,
Justice.
y'all know I'm a fool, and I have made a reading rainbow song. I ain't got the beat from Looney yet, so I got to sing it a cappella this morning. But he's sending me the beat.
So
Yeah,
that's what
I'm
we got
stupid.
forward to listening to. The Reading Rainbow song.
Yep.
Oh wow. Goody goody. Tamara said, hell no, I cook. Right, Tamara? You know, we tend to cook in the country. When you be down there in the country, you got to cook, girl. Ain't no damn DoorDash. All right, y'all, here we go. We still listening to Mr. What's his name? Damn it. It ain't Chad. Chad been gone. We listening to Jason. Captain Jason Chapman. Okay? Here we go.
But later scrutinizing the body cam footage, he does appear to fixate more on his son than his wife, but that's in that limited amount of body cam footage that I have.
Y'all feel free to support the channel. Continue to hit that like button, okay? Keep me in the algorithm with this content, and also hit the cash app. Thank you.
All right, you mentioned before the tire tracks that you observed.
Yes, or tire impressions.
Tire impressions.
Yes,
Okay. Let's set the scene. Set the scene for us, if you would. Please. Describing the grass, and we've heard a lot about, there's rain, the moisture. Describe the scene, if you would, on that grass.
So if you come into the property and you go down the dirt road with Paul on your left, as you see in the picture before y'all, that gravel or dirt road between the kennels and what's referred to as the airport or the airplane hangar eventually ends in grass, a large grass area that separates that hangar from another shed. And in that area is where
Trey Reed, chatty comment.
Mr. Murdaugh's Suburban was parked with the flashers and the headlights were pointed towards Paul's body. But that entire area there is grass as opposed to the dirt or gravel lane between the two structures. And there's some very obvious at that time impressions in the grass, but they're not tracks like you think of that we could cast a track out of dirt, but you can't cast an impression that's laid over wet grass from the dew. I mean, you're not going to be able to do anything with that other than to document it. And I did notice them, and I actually asked Mr. Murdaugh if he could tell me, because I was unaware of the body cam footage at the time. Could you tell me what direction you came from? And he told me that he pointed and said he had come from the residence and pulled up here, turned around and went back the same route, confirming that the tracks around his vehicle, the Suburban, were his. And he said there should be two sets from where I arrived the first time, left and got the gun and came back. And I asked about the other sets that you could see. And there was one in particular that appeared to come close to Maggie's body, possibly. You had to have the light just right. And it just happened to be that I noticed it looking at the ground in front of Mr. Murdaugh's vehicle because the lights were shining on Paul that you could see that.
So the tire tracks, did you and Detective Loveland spend some time attempting to identify where those tracks could have come from?
We did try to follow them. One thing that started to bother me was that we didn't have a vehicle. We're trying to figure out how Maggie and Paul got to the kennels. It's a pretty substantial distance from the residence to the kennels, the property, and I don't know an exact, but I'm guessing, probably 1,000 yards from the kennels to the house. And it's 10 o'clock at night, so I don't know what time they got there, but it's a pretty long walk, especially if you're planning on walking back in the dark. And did they drive a vehicle? Did they drive, a four-wheeler or a UTV or whatever, a golf cart? But we see Mr. Murdaugh's vehicle, and because he left it as instructed where it was, but we were trying to determine if any of these other tracks lined up with the position of any other vehicles that were on the property. There was a UTV with a flat tire. There was another a half-ton pickup in the shed across the grass portion from the hangar. I was thinking maybe those tracks would line up, or the impressions that were in the grass would line up with that vehicle.
Did they appear to line up with
They did not.
vehicles?
They did not.
As part of your investigation, flash forward just a little bit, did you operate and record 2 drone videos of the property?
I did.
Yeah, I'm going to show you. hand you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 187 and 188. Briefly take a look at those two videos, DVDs if you would, let me know if you recognize them.
Yes, sir. Both of these discs I have marked as having previously viewed and confirmed their authenticity, one on the 25th of this month and one on the 26th of this month.
These would be the drone video recordings?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Your Honor, we would move to admit these into evidence, I believe, without objection.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Good, then without objection, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a recess at this time. Please not discuss.
Okay, so look like they're recessing, and I think when they come back, it's gonna be cross-examination. So maybe we can get the cross-examination in before we get off today. If not, we'll continue it tomorrow. So let me fast forward. But now in the courtroom, you may hear noise, paper rattling, chatter. Right now they're showing the judge and they're showing the people coming back in after recess, okay? Yeah, here come Dick. Right, Paul. Yes.
All of the jurors are present.
All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Actually, no. I think he's still being questioned by the prosecutors, okay? So here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Chaplain, resuming our testimony, I'm going to show you a handful of pictures. I'm going to I've marked and I'm identify. I ask you to please identify them. No objection.
You offer them all into evidence?
I am.
They are admitted without objection.
Okay, permission to publish?
Yes.
And I think, Your Honor, I think we already established that the drone footage has been placed into evidence, and I would request permission to play that first, and then I'll go to the picture. Sorry. Captain Chapman, as we were discussing earlier, you did describe the process of what you did with the drones and why you would have surveilled the area.
Wow, Chad.
Took pictures with our drone.
Good morning,
just to
Chad.
give an
Hi, Miss
overall.
Linda.
Some of the agents have different job descriptions that day. Some of my personnel had different job descriptions that day. In order to have something as a reference point to go back and work with later, we took the department issued drone and took a couple aerial videos so that we could use them for reference later.
And Your Honor, request permission for the witness to sort of direct the geography of the drone footage. If you would please step down.
Sure.
And if you could identify for the jurors as the video is played, what we're actually looking at. Appreciate it.
In the image currently, what we see is the main house, the Murdaugh residence.
And
And the trees would be the main driveway that comes out.
All right. If you could identify that on the video, the driveway that you're referring to.
I'll walk up. Yes, sir. So this would be the main structure and the main driveway that comes out from it with the trees. Ladies and gentlemen, the main structure or residential structure, the main driveway coming away from it with the trees.
All right, and now looking down the road a bit, Captain Chapman, this road that veers to the left or turns left, what is that road?
So that would have been the route that was described by Mr. Murdaugh as how he had left his residence and came to the dog kennels, coming up the road with the planted trees, making a left here, ladies and gentlemen, there. And if you play the video a little farther, that road ends at the instant location with the dog kennels.
And if you would, please describe for us what we're actually looking at with this dog kennel area, identifying the structures and the entry point for the road, the main mailbox area.
Absolutely. So this would be the area coming from the main residence. When we arrived on scene that night, or when, at least when I arrived, right here, positioned with the headlights facing down this way, would have been Mr. Murdaugh's vehicle. You keep hearing reference of the airplane hangar or the main shed. That would have been the large structure here. The dog kennels are the smaller one you see in the background that runs perpendicular, and the driveway goes out to the road. Do I need to show you, ladies and gentlemen, here? Is everyone able to see?
Please do it. Just go through what these structures are.
So again, the roadway coming from the main residence. Here you have what's been referred to as the hangar. Mr. Murdaugh's vehicle was parked in this general area here with the headlight shining down this direction. Dog kennels. This is the large grass area that we were referring to when we're talking about the tire impressions in the dude. And this is a separate structure that sits off to the side.
And where would the entry point for the Moselle Road be on this just still shot?
Following straight down between the hangar and the dog kennels, going all the way through the tree line, the Moselle Road entrance would be back here.
All right, I'm going to just play it one time without stopping. All right, thank you, Captain Chapman. I'm going to play the second drone video. If you would, please tell us what we're looking at from this perspective right now.
Yes, sir. So this would be the back portion of the airplane hangar. The driveway, the vehicles at the bottom of the screen. This driveway goes back around and connects back to Moselle Road.
And is this the hangar that you were referencing?
The airplane hangar, as we've been referring to it.
What is this structure on the top side of this image in the far back?
I believe that's a cleaning shed, for a processing shed for animals. If you're going to process a deer that you killed, it had like a walk-in freezer, sinks, floor with drain in it.
All right, describe to us what we're looking at from this perspective, if you would.
Certainly. So if you came in the Moselle entrance, which was the entrance that we were dispatched to, the 4147, and you turned by the mailbox off of Moselle Road and you came in the dirt driveway, you would be coming up between the two structures. You have your airport or airplane hangar on your right with the red tin roof, the dog kennel on your left. That was the vehicle that Mr. Murdaugh was driving when, at least he said he was driving when I arrived on scene. At the time, the flashers were flat. I believe they actually still are in the drone video. The hazard lights are on all the way back from where dispatch initially advised him to cut them on for arrival. The large shed in the background back there is just simply another tractor shed.
And Captain Chapman, would you identify where the body of Paul Murdaugh was located when you arrived on this picture?
So the dog kennels on the left of your screen ladies and gentlemen, if you were to look towards the end of that structure, right where the gravel and the roof line are, and then step back approximately 5-6 feet, that would have been the location of Paul's body.
And where would Maggie's body be located?
And Maggie's body would have been just beyond the roof line of the red airplane hangar on the side closest to the Suburban.
The trajectory of the vehicle that Mr. Murdaugh was operating and actually left parked there, where would his headlights have been directed to?
As it sits now, which I believe is the same it was when I arrived on scene, the headlights were pointed on Paul's body.
And this structure, just past the white roof, which is identified as the kennels, what's that run structure there?
I believe that was like a chicken coop or a chicken pen.
It's a facial expression for me. Sorry, y'all can't see him though.
Mentioned before when we were talking about the tire tracks that you noticed in the dew of the grass, that you were trying to identify the location of those tracks. As part of your investigation in conjunction with Detective Rutland, did you identify this black truck that we see pictured here?
We did.
Was the black truck, did any of the tracks line up to that black truck?
No, sir, that's what got us back to that location looking at the tire impressions, was that we were trying to determine if that was the vehicle we believe that Paul may have driven to the kennels.
And did you check the truck to see if it was physically warm to the touch or?
It was not.
Pausing here, Captain Chapman, the kennel run, I think you already identified, is that the structure with the white roof?
Yes, sir.
The silverish white roof in the background on this image? And the feed room located where Paul actually was sort of straddled, where would that feed room be in this image?
If you look at the right corner of that building, and you can see the white frame door just above the red roof, that would be the area of the feed room.
With the court's permission, I'd ask the witness to identify that on the screen, if you would.
Yes. Thanks, John. Just again, the area of the feed room here. Yes, we're in the area of the feed room here.
And while you're there, Captain Chapman, would you please identify in this angle where Maggie Murdaugh would have been located?
Yes, sir. Maggie was in this area here. Here.
Did you become aware through the course of your investigation of footprints on the side of the hangar?
Yes.
How did that occur? What brought your attention to that first, and what did you do as a result?
Detective Rutland approached me at some point in time after her arrival with the search warrant that she had located a set of prints. The prints appeared to be a flat style print, like a flip-flop or a sandal of some type. And they were to the left of this hangar door in the dirt underneath the left lean-to of the hangar.
And if you mean to the left of the door, in the image, do you identify an orange lawnmower there?
That's correct. In between that mower and the wall.
If you would, describe what you did and what you and Detective Rutland decided to do to examine these footprints.
She came over and alerted me to the presence of the footprints or shoe impressions. I went over with her. We started at the side of the hangar here that you see in the image by the orange mower. At that particular point, you could only see those sets of tracks or shoe impressions in the dirt. We then walked around the other side, and you could see that they were also on the other side of the hangar, the far side of that structure. So then we made the decision to walk a line off of those tracks from one end to the other to ensure that there was no evidence of firearms, blood, anything underneath that hangar along those shoe impressions, which we did not locate anything but the single set of shoe impressions. And they appeared to go from one end of the hangar to the other, turn around and come back.
I'll show you what's been entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 193. Are you familiar with that location?
Yes, sir.
Is that a still image of the area between the hangar and that lawnmower?
It is, sir.
And is that the location where you notice the treads, the footprints?
It is, sir.
I'm handing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 194. Could you please describe what you see in that picture?
This is a picture of the footprints along the edge of the hangar structure.
I'm handing you what's been marked and entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 195. Please describe what you see in that picture.
Again, another photograph depicting the shoe impressions along the edge of the.
And those are the shoe impressions that you personally viewed on scene at Murdaugh.
Yes, sir.
I'm also handing you what's been entered into
So
evidence.
right now, y'all, this dude right here is pretty much describing the tire impressions and the shoe impressions that was on the scene. You know what the lawyer, what Dick tried to question the other cop about, which he didn't. You know, Fawn said, "Wonder if Alex was smart enough to change out his shoe." I don't know, Fawn. I don't know. Child. I'm thinking though, if he changed clothes, maybe he changed shoes too. I don't know. Cause to be honest, Fawn, depending on how close he was to them when he shot them, he would have been covered. I mean, like not covered, like, cause let's just be clear, he didn't try to save them, right? But as far as the shots and, I think he would have had blood on his shoes and his clothes. But he got rid of this stuff.
Evidence as State's Exhibit 200. Are you familiar with what that is a picture of?
These are the shoes that were on Miss Maggie at the time. I believe they're crime scene or autopsy photos from afterwards.
I just don't see him high as fuck being this calculated. I've always questioned that whole drug addiction thing. I mean, I'm not saying that he didn't take anything like at some point in time, but that whole, what was it, 60 pills a day thing? Well,
That should be real.
but to be
So
honest
you are
though, Trey,
plenty.
calculated, I don't know if he was calculated because he made a lot of mistakes. What be
He
real
thought he
though?
was calculated, but it was poorly planned.
Oh, it was for the plan. I don't think it was planned though. Even if it was planned, okay, I don't think it was planned like way in advance. I think if he decided to do it, he decided to do it that day. There's no way that this man planned like maybe weeks or months in advance, and he fucked up this bad. But what you meant when you said that shit be real?
No, I'm saying like the people being like taking 60, 100 pills a day. Like I can show you several stories. Ex NBA player, white guy, said he
Mm-hmm.
was taking like 100 pills a day. My
Of
lawyer
what?
said he's represented a
Of what?
guy that was taking 100 pills a day.
Of what though? Like what type of pills?
Percocets,
Oh
Percocets.
Lord. Oh
That's
God.
opioids. Yeah, I think that's what they said he was on. They said he was on pain pills, which is
Yeah,
typically
they said he was.
Percocets.
I know they said opioids. I know they said
Yeah, them
that.
Percocets. Any type of Percocet is an opioid. The Lortabs, the Percocets, the Oxycontin, the Roxycontin, just
Right.
all that shit.
Yeah. I just don't see. Maybe because I think about me and my body and the fact that I take Tylenol extreme and that shit make me woozy. I don't see how people can be on that type of shit and function every day.
Your body gets used to it, especially if you're a
Oh
person
my
that's in
goodness.
pain. If you're a person in pain and you take them, you don't feel pain. You can go through your regular day, do all the shit that you couldn't do before you found out about them.
Yeah,
And
Chad
then
said
just
they
like
wake up.
everything else, it becomes addictive because it's heroin. Let's keep it real. This opioids ain't number heroin.
Oh wow. Chad said they wake up off a sick, take them pills and go to work and all shaking my head. Fawn said truth they are functional addicts. I know. Cause I do know they are functioning like alcoholics and things of that nature. So I can imagine that they could be functioning pill poppers. It's oh my goodness. Okay.
Look up this basketball player named Chris Herron, white guy. Listen to his
What's his
story. You'll
last
be like,
name?
Herren, Herron. Played for
Chris.
the
Okay.
Celtics. He didn't play for a lot of teams. He was a professional, but he was saying how he had like a $25,000 a month habit
$25,000 a month, Trey.
on popping pills, Percocets,
Oh my
Oxycontin.
God. Jeez Louise.
And he said they started out at high school. He was like in high school, like he broke state records, and I think he's from I don't know where the fuck he's from. He broke state records. He said he was on acid, Percocet, and alcohol on the
Wow.
floor hooping.
Wow. I know it's all possible, y'all. It's just it's crazy to me because, like I say, I take a damn any medication I take, it affects my body as to where, oh my God, okay, all right, y'all. We got like less than 20 minutes. Let's go. Let's. I know we're not gonna finish his test. I wish I wanted to try to finish his testimony today, but we're not gonna do it. But let's listen. Oh, Chad said I used to sell them back in the day. Girl, no. Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
No comment.
I know, right?
Did you cut out or is it the courtroom?
You can't hear me?
I hear you now. I thought it was. I guess it was just the courtroom that was silent.
Oh yeah, the courtroom. It's a lot of pauses and things. You probably hear paper rattling or yeah. They stopped talking for a minute. Get off that coffee, Chad. Get off that coffee, girl. Ah.
Madam Chairman, we'll see a rear view of the car operated by Mr. Murdaugh that night. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
And are those headlines directly aligned with where Paul's body would have been laid?
Yes, sir.
And from this perspective, where was Maggie's body located?
Close to the front of the Green Ranger to the left of the vehicle.
And from which direction did Mr. Murdaugh indicate he drove to the scene from? Which direction would that have come from?
Bottom right-hand corner of the picture that you're seeing now.
Switch to. Captain Chapman, I'm just asking you to identify just very quickly, these are stills from the DOP. What does that show?
That's the dirt road between the hangar and the dog kennel.
They looking at video, Chatty.
192.
They looking at video.
This is States Exhibit 191. And what does that show?
That's the, like we said, a cleaning shed, processing shed for animals, had a walk-in freezer full with a drain in it.
I'm showing you States Exhibit 190. What is that image of?
Looks like the area, the first two kennels closest to the
does that reflect the two kennels with the two dogs on either side closest to the feed room?
Closest to the feed room.
And I'm showing you what's marked as States Exhibit 189.
That's the,
Is that another close-up of the water?
that's close up of the water just outside the feed room.
And I'm referring to the pictures we just reviewed. This would be States Exhibit 193. Is that where you physically walked with Detective Rutland?
It is, sir.
And to be clear, when you observed the footsteps in the sand there, were they the only footsteps present?
There was only one style of shoe impression when we first observed that went from one side of the hangar to the other and back. And it was that smooth style shoe impression.
When you say there and back, does that mean the footprints to you indicated they had walked one direction and then walked the opposite direction back? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, sir. We weren't able to tell at which point, which side they entered initially, but they walked completely from one side of the hangar all the way underneath, lean-to the other side of the hangar, or turn around and come back.
I'm now showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 194. Describe the types of treads we're seeing in this picture, if you could.
Certainly. If you remember, I stated earlier that after locating the shoe impressions, Detective Rutland let me know the impressions were there. I went over, we checked both sides and realized that they ran what we could tell with a flashlight from one side to the other. So we made the decision to walk straight through, keeping the shoe impressions that we were concerned about in between ourselves and the wall of the hangar structure, never crossing those actual shoe impressions. We went from one end to the other just to see if they were joined by any other shoe impressions, if there was any blood, if there were any weapons, so forth. We made one trip down and back and we did not locate anything.
And I'm now showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 195. Would that be a close-up of these impressions that you observed?
It is, sir.
And specifically the items in the middle with the flat tread, would those be the footprints that you noticed that night?
Those were the ones initially identified by Detective Rutland and pointed out to myself. The ones with the shoe impressions with the actual designs that would be left of those in this photograph, those are myself and Detective Rutland.
They focusing on these footprints, y'all. Which, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to move to publish what's been marked as and entered into evidence as States Exhibit 196 and 197. These are images of sensitive nature, have the cover sheet. I've advised counsel and our table to obscure the monitors. Showing you what's been marked and entered into evidence as State's Exhibit 196. Are you familiar with what this is an image of?
Yes, sir.
What does this show?
That's the lower portion of victim Maggie's body.
And specifically referring to the lower portion of the body, but her footwear. Are these the footwear that you observed on her that evening?
Those are they appear to be an accurate reflection of what she was wearing the night I was there.
Were you able to compare the general size and shape of those foot treads to the ones that you personally observed on the side of that hanger?
General impression, they are similar in nature and design and size. There were no measurements physically taken by myself or Detective Rutland.
Thank you. I'm publishing what's been marked and placed into evidence as State's Exhibit 197. And this is a similar photograph with just a slightly different angle. Is that the same?
I can tell you what the expression on his face is, Miss Ann. It's the same expression that he's had throughout. He's got his glasses. You know what? I'm gonna take a picture. I'm gonna try to post it. We're gonna get off of here in a minute. But I'm gonna take a picture of how he looking. You know what? Let me see. Let me see if I can pull up StreamYard right quick. Yeah. Hold on. No, I think it'll be easier to do this. Let's see. Girl, it's oh God, it's pathetic. I stopped it right when you said that, and I'm finna show you his expression. I'm finna give it to you. All right, so let's listen, and let me get this photo ready.
Treads and same footwear that you observed previously?
Again, what we believe that what we saw on the side of the building is a very close match as far as design and size as to those.
I'm showing you now what's been marked and placed into evidence of State's Exhibit 200. Are you familiar with that? I know you already described it, but tell us again what we're looking at.
Again, those were the shoes that were removed from victim Maggie's body at the scene, and the ones that we were visibly comparing the shoe impressions to.
Thank you. You turn the lights on.
Hello, baby. How you doing, sweetie?
Out of your way. Did you at one point have a be on the lookout or a bolo placed on any in particular vehicle that night?
Yes, sir. I believe I explained earlier that we had asked if anything was
Y'all
missing.
give me a second. I'm finna pull up a visual. Talk, Trey.
Hello. I don't know what you want me to say. How y'all doing out there in YouTube land? I don't know how that baby went to sleep at 9. That's a text message. That baby went to sleep at 9. She woke up at 2, stayed up to about 7, then tried to go back to sleep. I said, no, you ain't. Let's roll. Constantly tapping me, talking about, can I get some more water? Oh, leave me alone, I'm sleeping. Hey, it's two truths, too much truth. Oh, he didn't do it.
Yes, the hell he did. Yes, the hell he did. Yes, he did. That's how he looking. But E Brooks, listen, that's how he looking, but he fake crying like he. I'm telling y'all, I'm telling y'all what I'm looking at now, man. Okay, we're gonna go 5 more minutes, y'all, then I'm gonna end this for today. Okay, but that's how he looking. I'm gonna leave that up there.
On the scene and trying to determine how Maggie and Paul got to the dog kennels. And after checking the F-150 that was in the picture that showed you earlier, the dark colored F-150, and the Ranger had a flat tire, neither one of those matched up. I actually asked Mr. Murdaugh if he knew how they got down there, and he said he wasn't sure, but they should have driven Paul's truck, which was described as a white Ford F-250. We noticed that the truck wasn't there. It wasn't up until
that man do not look like no Bill Clinton fun. Fun, that man do not look like Bill Clinton. Oh Lord.
That point that Mr. Murdaugh, probably with everything going on, did not realize the truck wasn't there. And at that point in time, to our units at our agency, it was bellowed out as possibly having been taken from the scene or removed from the scene.
And what happened? Were you able to locate the car eventually?
That was done sometime that night while we were on scene the very following morning. And I'd have to look back at notes to tell you exactly, but I believe it was around 10:30, 10:45 next morning. That vehicle was located just inside Hampton County off of Highway 63.
Captain Chapman, referring back to the tire tracks, I know you spent some effort trying to identify the source and origin of those tire tracks. When you were attempting to investigate those tire tracks with Detective Rutland, did you have a chance to then observe Mr. Murdaugh's demeanor?
Yes, sir. And we discussed, there were changes at the time.
What kind of changes?
Again, he did appear very upset, heavy breathing, distraught. When we asked the specific questions in regards to the tire impressions and we began looking at the tire impressions, it was just a change. The breathing slowed and he began to watch us work more closely, sometimes out the corner of his eye. And after we moved away from that area with the tire impressions, the demeanor change returned back to upset.
Beg the court's indulgence.
Hey, Matt.
No further questions from the state. Thank you, Captain Chapman.
Sir.
Okay, y'all, I'm gonna end it right here, because right here is where old Dickie boy cross-examines, and I think we're gonna be able to get through that on the next episode, y'all. So I'm gonna end it right there. That's a good spot to end it at. So yeah, thank y'all so much for joining this live. Like I say, that testimony there to me honestly was a little redundant from the other cop, but hey, that's what they do, that's what it is. But I appreciate y'all joining and sticking around for the commentary. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Look at old Alex. Thank you, E Brooks, for dropping. We finna head over there to old Pettigoat over there in state land and see what the shenanigans he got going on for the day. Okay. With that being said, I'm gonna get off of here. I'll be back later, of course. All right. So y'all make sure y'all look for that schedule live. Thank y'all so much for supporting this content. Thank you for the likes. If you have not hit the like button, go ahead and hit that like button, okay? Keep this commentary in the algorithm. If you feel it on your spirit, on your heart to support the channel, hit that cash out, okay? If you're watching the replay, hit that cash out. And with that being said, happy Monday to everybody. A new day, new attitude. It is what it is. Let's go. All right. So that means say, Trey, you got anything to say before we get out of here, Trey?
Nope.
Y'all. Bye, Miss K. Love you, Miss K. Thank you. See y'all over in State Land.